Good morning, everybody. Well, I guess it's not morning for everyone, but welcome to another in our APPI Learn-By-Doing webinars and workshops, because you're all going to be working here, I hope, and you'll certainly be doing a remote viewing session later. But what we're going to focus on today is, during the training session, is the feedback sessions. And then we will go ahead and do the remote viewing session. So that really is our outline. I had indicated that the feedback session would be for this specific coordinate, 878.179, and we'll talk about that, and that will be where we'll get our transcripts from that we'll do feedback sessions. And I hope some of you, in fact, did 878.179, but if not, that's fine. In fact, you will be learning a lot by watching what the other people did. The question there was, will the SPY daily price close above 240 on June 5th? Okay, so a couple of days ago. The prediction was no. The outcome was yes. And as you'll appreciate, as we get more and more into the feedback, what we will show you today is the photo site target that's associated with what actually happened. So there were two possibilities, yes and no, and one target was associated with yes, and that's the one you'll see. In ARV, Associative Remote Viewing, you always see what actually happens. And that is associated with the target. Now we call these photo site targets because when you do your remote viewing session and when you do your feedback session, you send your consciousness rather automatically, because that's part of the intention, to the photo at the time the photo was taken, but to the physical site, and you are able to use all of your senses. You can pick up sounds, you can pick up smells, the visuals you can get from the photo, but you certainly don't get sounds from the photo or smells, or if there's a nice little piece of pie there or something, you can actually taste it, and you do that as part of sending your consciousness there. So these photo sites are really just as being at the site, but you describe what can be verified from the photo, because as you'll see, there's a stage there called the analysis judging, where you take your transcript and you then compare it to two possible photo sites. So we'll get into that in detail shortly, but the associated part is obviously key. And then we'll do an RV session. We'll actually do the judging and make a real prediction. We're going to make a prediction on how Google might move a month from now. And then we're going to actually do some discussions about specific sessions on you individually, what you did, so that I can make a group prediction, which is one of the things that always comes out of this. And the feedback will be over a month. Okay, so in terms of the feedback that we're going to be doing here, we had quite a few people and predictions. As I've indicated, there are two photo sites. One is called photo site A, the other is called photo site B. The CRs are the way we rank the match between each of these. So John did a match on his transcript versus photo site A, and then he did another match using a 0 to 7 system that we'll talk about with photo site B. So each of these people, and you'll be doing this, will do a analysis and judging to come up with these numbers. And then I made a group prediction, which was for, in this case, photo site A, and you can see why. I highlighted in yellow all of those over 4. 3.5 is the minimum where we would say the match is good enough to be wagerable. I'm willing to wager a few bucks, but since that's right on the lowest end, I marked those in gray. But nevertheless, they're clearly supportive for A. But notice, and this is something to really just get, nobody is perfect. When you look at this, you'll see high scores, 4.5, 4, these are high scores. 5 is very high. 6 and 7, you start naming the target correctly, and we don't even want you to necessarily do that. We call those analytical overlays. But the point here is, when we made this prediction, it was clear some people were going to be correct and some were going to be incorrect because they're on opposite sides, and only one of these were going to be accurate. But nevertheless, based on this, with 3 yellows versus 2, plus the 2 grays, and the highest were 5s, I went for photo site A. Now, that happened to be randomly associated by the computer with no. So that's why our prediction was no, as I indicated. But what actually happened was photo site B. Now, while I make a group prediction, okay, I'm acting as the group manager here. In many ways, this is the least important part of ARVing. What matters is your personal predictions and personal growth, and I even use the word transformation, because as you do this over the long term and you really recognize that you're a rather wonderful, mysterious being that can gather information from the future, albeit not perfectly, but being able to gather information from the future just changes you a bit, makes you, I think, somehow bigger, deeper. Okay, so the question was, will SPY close above 240 on June 5th? We had predicted no, but the answer is yes, based on what happened on that day. This happens to be a chart, a daily chart from April to yesterday, and this is the 5th. Here's 240. So here are prices. You probably can't read these numbers, so I made this one big, 240. Down here is 232. Up here is 245. But it was above 240. So the answer was yes. And so photo site B is what you're going to get back. So these are hourly charts. Well, and maybe I'll explain it to you if in a little bit more detail. If you look at these are called candle charts. The red here indicates it was down from the opening, which, since it's a down move, the opening is the top of this red, the close is the bottom of the red, but notice there are little white lines that go above and below. The top of that white line was the high of that hour, and the bottom was the low of that hour. So it gives you a sense of what went on there. It opened there, it somehow moved, it managed to go up this high, it managed to go that low, and it closed there. And then the greens are the same except up. So this opened there, closed there, the low was right there, the high was right there. Okay, so our feedback target is going to be photo site B. Now, the only reason that's particularly important is for the individual people who did it, because when they get their feedback, they'll know whether they got a hit or miss, and their emotional reaction, and then more importantly, their feedback session is what's most important. Okay, so how do they get their feedback after they've done an RV session. Now, the thing to understand about the protocol we're going to be using here today, and we have several groups that use this, and there are other groups that use other approaches, but this is the winning entanglement protocol, and it's really user-friendly, and it's online. It uses the internet email. Everything is stored on servers so we can do analysis. As you'll see, there are places to put notes. That's saved as well to help you. Okay, so let's do it. Let's go about getting this. So everything is done via email. The original tasking was done via email as well. But what we need to do now is find the feedback. And so here is the email which I, as the group manager, sent out after I found out the outcome. I couldn't do it until I did the outcome. So notice, this is feedback for, and I'm now representing each of you, if you will, in this webinar workshop, but this might be the CARV group. We have a CARV group, we have a SAGE group, we have lots of different groups. And you can see here the event is printed out. This is, will the daily price close above 240? Now we knew the winning side, and as group manager I put that in, and so it's yes. And we use a language of side 1 and side 2. You don't have to worry too much about that. And then I just made a comment that this webinar was done May 3rd, and the answer is yes. So this is a comment that I put in. But as a user, you would go here, you know, you might look at this, make sure it's all right for you, but you would get this in your email shortly after the outcome. And then all you have to do is click this link. Now, normally, everybody has their own unique coordinate. And so that's why you would put in your email address here. But I'm the representative one, and so I am putting my email address in here. And then you just click here for feedback, and up will come your feedback. So here you are. This is the feedback for 878-179. And I now want to do something else. You had a quick enough look at that as part of both for looking at the feedback sessions, but also for remote viewing. I would like you to maybe put words in the chat box, or you can say them out loud or put them on a piece of paper, but what do you remember? Remembering the past, while obviously it's not quite the same as the future, the feeling, the stuff that comes up as you're remembering it is similar. And so one of the things which is important is what you get and what you should use in remote viewing the future are words like this. You can get information about textures, color, smells, taste, temperature, sounds, dimensions, aesthetic impact. But they're kind of what, I don't know how to categorize them, lower level words. You know, you don't name high level words, the Eiffel Tower, but you might say things like tall, open, metal, man-made. Those are the kind of words in here. Perhaps the way a child would describe something. You know, they don't know the names of a lot of these things, and yet they can tell you these are the kind of words that would go along with that. So from what, you know, sort of as an exercise, and hopefully you're doing it as I'm talking, you know, what was the color that you remember? You know, you know, you've got a sense of that color. Well, one of those colors are in here. Was it brown, beige? There was also maybe a bit of black. You know, I'm remembering it now too. But it's stuff that sort of comes up. Where does it come from? Well, it comes from your consciousness, and you set the intent to try to remember. Well, what we do in remote viewing is remember the future. And it's quite similar, actually, because the information is out there. That's what precognition shows. Now, the other thing which happens is you usually get, just because this is sort of the way the consciousness works, the big picture stuff first. Things I call gestalts, things which you might want to sketch. Like in that last picture, what was the shape that might have come to you that you wanted to sketch? Circles, right? There was this big circular thing, sort of brownish. Maybe later you might even get copper, but you might draw a circle. Sketchers are good when you're moved to do one, when something comes up, and usually they're partial. You know, you might get a circle, you might even just get an arc. Your subconscious might only give you an arc, or in that case it might give you a lot of little circles. So these kind of partial images are terrific because they don't come from the left side of the brain. They don't come from the intellect. They don't come from your day-to-day physical life living. They come from your deeper subconscious that in fact is what's connecting you with all the information that's out there. So these big picture things also come in early, and they're gestalts. We call them gestalts. And a gestalt is something that's made up of a lot of parts, and yet it's somehow more than all the parts put together. I mean, a building is a gestalt. You know, if in the middle of the picture there was this huge building of some shape, well, you know, it has lots of windows, it's got its own colors, it has who knows how many floors, it's got stuff on the top maybe, but building is kind of a gestalt word. Water, you know, big picture stuff like that. The first thing that might hit you if there was a big ocean picture of some sort where the ocean was really dominant, you would probably get water or something of that sort. So big picture stuff tends to come in first as well. So these are like first impressions when you would first see your feedback picture that will come into you, and you know, you just saw an example of one. Well, during remote viewing, it's the same sort of thing that will tend to come in. Okay, so this is the feedback target. I showed you this, and there's room there for a text box. So looking at it closely, you can, you know, now you can look at it directly and you would describe it. But now let's go, before I get into the pictures, I want us to set proper intention and expectation, and we will in fact be paying attention to everything that's going on. But mostly, you know, you're going to be hearing my voice, but your attention should be certainly partly on that, partly on the pictures and everything, but also pay attention what seems to be coming up in your reaction to all this. Because what you're really learning to do with ARV is improve this communication channel with your consciousness, which comes from who knows where and who knows how, but it's you, right? So I really want you to pay attention to the other stuff that comes in that comes from you. Now here's something that Joe McMonagle and Ed May concluded many years ago now. And Joe is probably the best remote viewer, public remote viewer out there. And Ed May is one of the scientists that's been continuously working on this way back when, from the early 70s, and he was ahead of a program that went on and worked with the government, government funding, etc. And here's what they concluded. What is clear, at least to those of us in our long-established team, is that intention, attention, and expectation play a very important role in the success of both application and research of remote viewing. Okay, so what we're doing is application. Now in some ways we're doing research too, because we're doing a lot of this and keeping statistics, and so we really are doing both. But intention, what does that mean? Intention means intending to have some outcome. It's different than expectation, which is expecting that outcome. So our cues always in remote viewing, our remote viewing session was to describe and sketch your and some coordinate feedback target. Well, your intention now as we go into the feedback is to learn from that, knowing this was your intention, knowing your intention in fact is going to be the same during the feedback session. I'm going to want you now to describe and sketch the actual feedback target, which you'll know for sure, and you'll do that on your transcripts to improve your transcript. So you're going to identify what's on the transcript, and then you're going to improve it. That's your intention. Your expectation is, well, feedback session, you're obviously going to expect to do that, but even more, you're going to reaffirm the expectation you had during the remote viewing time, which was to get a good description of the target. And now you add that you know you're learning and you're going to continue to get better and better at your remote viewing sessions and your feedback sessions to improve your success with all this and your enjoyment and your growth. Okay, the key thing that we're doing here with ARV is this word purposeful. I believe all precognition actually begins with the feedback session. In other words, the truth point, when you get to find out if your prediction was correct or not, okay, we call that the feedback session. That's where you see your target or whatever. But a déjà vu is different. It just comes into you. You have these sensations, and then, oh my God, a little bit later you see just what you sensed, right? But it wasn't on purpose. What we're doing it is doing it on purpose. The remote viewing session to make the prediction, and now our feedback sessions. Okay, one more, and I kind of want to summarize all of ARV, and then we will get into the feedback. So, precognition, as I've said many times, begins with the feedback, because this is the truth point. The fact that we can share that with an earlier session, which is a remote viewing session, is one of the wonderful ways our universe works. We know it works that way. The fact that you're here says you've probably had precognitive experiences yourself, and those of you who have been doing ARV know that. You have lots and lots of that. Okay, so here's your remote viewing session. Then describe and sketch your feedback target for some specific coordinate, and here you get your feedback. Okay, so those are strongly entangled, and that's the thing you want to entangle. You want to connect the most, and that's what you will learn over time to do better and better. Now, what is this? Well, this is where the actual prediction between the yes and no question is done. Between, when we do sporting events, they're always binary, two choices. And that's done by having two possible photo sites, two possible targets, one associated with yes, one associated with no. And then here is when you do the judging, because what we expect and what we see most of the time, but not all the time, is that the transcript done here will match one of these two better than the other. And how much better? Well, that's where the 0 to 7 ranking system comes in. So the thing to remember, and really work to not make excuses or anything, because you either did what you intended and what you expected here, which is to describe and sketch your feedback target. And the idea is to get better and better at doing that. And the target is the feedback photo site. If you described anything else, we sometimes call that bleed through, or we call that displacement, or different ways of basically saying, I didn't really do as good a job as I would have liked. But the target is the feedback photo site, period. It has nothing to do with anything else you see. Have you ever thought about how many images you might see in a day? I mean, huge, right? But you, and this is one of the amazing things that the human beings can do, is they can focus in with intention on one thing, and they expect to see it, and they do it. I mean, you do that in the here and now all the time. You want to focus on this, or suddenly a sound comes, and you turn your focus to that. Now you're turning your focus to the future. Okay, so the target is the feedback photo site with the sound, smells, etc. Now, this idea, and I just hope you get that, the ARV idea is really easy. I mean, once you accept that information can be shared between the present, like when you're doing your remote viewing session, and the future, or the other way to look at it is the future is sending information back to the remote viewing session, or they're just sort of entangled forever, then it's easy. I mean, how you do it, who knows in detail. Science can't give you a good explanation, but the idea of it is easy. You just describe and sketch your, given a specific coordinate, that target. And then you let deeper parts of you, your subconscious, go ahead and do that. Okay, so one of the things you get as your intention, as your expectation, is this. This is your task, this is your cue. Describe your future target for that coordinate. Now, this is an estimate, but when you start with the remote viewing session, this is when you want to let go of the intellect, but you need a little bit of around to put something on your transcript, to possibly guide yourself and ask a question from your sub, very gently. Hey sub, give me some information about colors or texture, or what's the big picture thing about this. You want a little intellect around, and also you want to write on your transcript, but mostly it's from the subconscious. When we do the judging here, it's mostly intellect, 90% intellect, and here, believe it or not, and it took me a long time to be able to actually say this, but I believe when you do your feedback session, which we're about to do, 50% from the subconscious, 50% from the intellect. You want to be in harmony now. You're learning from the intellect, but the subconscious is also learning, and there's this communication channel, which is a balance between the two. So I like to put it that way. And we really do function with two sides, intellectual, day-to-day physical world, and then our subconscious intellect. Really want to keep it interesting, but that's up to you, right? We try to make interesting targets, but that's a matter of judgment, and lots of times you can simply add stuff to make it interesting. Now, there are many people out there that simply love doing this. They love getting quiet They love seeing how their subconscious might work. They really enjoy learning about this mysterious communication channel between their deep subconscious and then the here and now conscious moment. But others work at it a bit, like they will go out of their way, and in fact, these people will do that as well, go out of their way to make it more fun. Hey, we just saw a kitchen scene. That might have been enough to say, oh, I'm remembering a great time when I did some cooking. And you know what? If they do that at feedback time, they may very well find that during their remote viewing session, and clearly there would be that entanglement there. Okay, we really are going to look at them right now, but I want to give you something which is, I think, rather important in all the sessions, and that is this 5-second rule. I did this one with my kids, my grandkids, my kids are doing it with their kids, and that started out with food. They would drop something, and if you could pick it up within 5 seconds, you could eat it because the bacteria wouldn't get on it and hurt it in any way. Well, it turns out when you have negative images, negative feelings, negative stuff comes up, you know, the old saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Well, this works here too. You know, when you have this negative stuff, you're going to return right back to the feedback target, because that's what you want to emphasize. During feedback, you're keeping all of your interest right on the feedback target. And you do that with a positive, fun, creative, interested attitude. 5 seconds. Don't dwell on anything negative for more than 5 seconds. So that's the ARV 5-second rule. Okay, so any of you that have transcripts, this happens to be, I'll go through, you know, we had a lot of them. I'm just going to go through 4 of them. But, you know, if you have yours, you should be doing, you can be doing a feedback session too, and maybe we'll even let you do it live if yours isn't one of those that I bring up. This happens to be one. Notice the A. Let's see, is Ben here? Ben is not here. Okay, this was photo site A, a 4, B, a 0. Okay, now he remembers that. Now he's looking at this. He knows he got a miss very quickly. He might even have an emotional down. But then you come back and you look at this again, and now you look at your transcript and you relate to it and you add more. That's always what you're doing, trying to learn more about how the communication channel works. But one thing, I'm looking at this now and I see man-made structures. Okay, so he marked that as an A, that's fine. But already, and he will note this, you say, oh my gosh, this is a man-made structure. Why didn't I put it there? You know what? I need to improve my journey. Thank you. I'm learning something from this one. Oh yeah, okay. Let's see, land-water interface. No, I don't see a land-water interface here. Okay, so that wasn't right. But you know what I do see is, and then you focus, come back here and focus on something positive. Oh, look at this. I wrote structures. Well, this is structure. This is a structure. And why didn't I get a B here? I would call that a structure. Yeah, it's not a huge building, but this is certainly a kind of structure. Close together. I don't know what this black stuff is, but something, it's even in fact close together. Gee, maybe again I made a judging error. You know, looking at this now, I can see where if my subconscious said structure certainly and even close together, that'd be right. So you can see what I'm doing. Angles. No, I don't see angles. Oh boy, the dominant thing here, there's circle and many circles. Oh, you know what? I'm going to stop for a moment and tell my subconscious, this is how circles feel. And on my transcript, I'd probably draw a circle, and then I draw a lot of circles. Draw a lot of circles. Multiple. Oh, that's a good word. Multiple circles. Oh, look, had I said multiples, that'd be good. So I'd write multiples on this transcript, or a lot of people use a different sheet of paper. You'll come up with your own technique, but you understand the idea here. You're relating everything back to this picture. And it's okay. If you didn't get something right, you go to what is right about it that's maybe the opposite or something else. It drives you back to this picture. No, not outside. This looks like it's inside. Inside. Maybe in the kitchen. Oh, what is the inside feeling? I'm feeling inside. Oh, I'm feeling a surrounding. I'm feeling like a ceiling, like I'm inside walls. And I'm actually doing this. This is helping me. Okay? I'm learning too, folks. I'm working on my communication channel as well. Photo taken from away, not close-up. Oh boy, I would call this a close-up. Slight feel of looking down. Well, I look at this is pretty close-up. This is focusing on one object here. Okay, lots of squares. Well, got lots, but why the subconscious gave me squares, I don't know. Hey, subconscious, next time when you see a lot of circles, the word I would love to come up would be circle. Circles, round, some sort of word like that, because that's what this is. Round, circles, circles, open circles. Oh, open circles. Okay, okay. The colors, oh yeah, colors, white. Gee, here's another case where B certainly would have fit. Maybe even gray down here. I don't know if I'd call that a 10 or not. The person has to decide. And yeah, no blue, but the dominant color, I would actually call that a copper color, interesting enough. I could have said copper for that. Boy, that would have been a double hit. Subconscious copper, or maybe brown, tannish. Okay, and then yeah, the Greek village, hazy sky, ocean. Okay, I don't know what the other picture is. I don't care. This person would probably remember it. I don't remember it from a month ago. I paid as little attention to the other picture as possible, but seeing something like this, at least that was the image. I don't know if that's anything about the other picture, but all these A's give me some sense of what it was, but I don't care, and I ignore that. The fact that I went to that 5-second rule, back to this one. Circle, circle. And look at this sketch. This sketch, yeah. I definitely would prefer circles, circles. Do circles, circles. I don't know where that came from. I don't care now. Next time in a similar situation, this is how I would communicate circles. Sketch it, circle round. Okay. Was this your session, Lila? Interesting. Okay.
Yes, it was one of my first sessions.
Oh, interesting. Okay, and you do recognize some of the things I was saying you agree with, the misjudging?
Yes, absolutely.
And I know you've done some sessions that are closer in time, and hopefully it's helped you with the judging of those.
And very much so, yes.
Okay. And that's the whole purpose of everything that we do here, is learning to improve this communication channel, learning how to judge better. Notice the communication channel is being improved because that's your intention, that's your expectation, and when you see it happen, like Lila just says, it's just all self-supportive. Okay, here's another one, and this is a hit. Notice this was one of those, the 4.5, this was Ramel. Ramel, yeah, you're here, Ramel. Ramel, why don't you turn on your mic and actually, if it makes sense, if you can do this, otherwise I'll do it, but I think it makes more sense. Do the feedback session the way you would do it. In other words, giving support for the good size, not, other 5-second rule if it comes up. So why don't you actually do it?
Okay. Looking at it right from the get-go, it's just bounded with intricacies and delicate lines. As you see, there's the delicate lines there around the circle as well. And it's bounded, which means these are all bounded all together. And then there's also this aspect of moving into the knowing that one's creation is worth 1,000 words, moving atop, looping, and then repeating across looping. So there's round to me is like a loop and then another loop and another loop, and it's bounded. So it's somehow, I get the gist of what my subconscious is telling me, which is really cool. There is an essence of a person involved in this photo site with an intricate creativity, artistic pursuits. So to me, it's an artisan. It's like like the nailing, the hammering. You can see the context of that when you look at a really beautiful pieces of brass or copper being done. My colors that I sense is red, brown, which is right on the dot like a hit, because the copper is a reddish brown color. There's black as well, and as white. There is this to me, like the movement, all this. It's not on the photo site, but that could be. I can think of something else, but I want to just stick with the photo site. So, but there is a repeated patterns as well being created here. The smell is acidic and chemical. As if one would smell copper, it smells really strong scent, and a distinct odor associated with the activity of the photo site. I'm sure when you're creating this and hammering and doing this, the chemical release of that element is actually even nauseating. So the X to me is the creativity, the artistic pursuit. That someone it's like a handcraft creation. The B, the next page 2, as you see the little sketch here, it looks like some smaller circles, circles and circles and circles. This is like a really rough sketch. So I really like that aspect of it. And just, somehow it's like roundish shaped, and what's really, really fascinating is that the A component here is the keyhole. I see it an opening, and then I AOL as a key into a keyhole. So it's like an opening, which is, assuming that a key, it's in metallic as well. So I really like that. I really like that. Right below that, there's components of fine lines, repetitious fine lines, which can actually see right in between those little circles. Those fine lines are what, like, really, really cool. I would say now it's a groove. I want to see more like this as grooves instead of just lines. I want to see them groove. So altogether, I did a little summary in here. Within the session, it's a handmade craftsmanship, which is really cool. I would like to see more as a shine. I'd like to see copper, the word copper smell, which is kind of like chemical. And I want to see round. I want to see more round and groove.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And let me tell you something. As you went through this, and now seeing this for the first time, I could read most of the words, but but what was clear is that you really focused on this main object, not that it was in a kitchen or anything like that. Your focus was to get this. And even when you talked about the person, it was interesting because you were talking about the person making this. And that's what and that's great, you know, that's fine. That's what your subconscious gave you. And when you were a judge, you recognize that because there were so many matches from that perspective. Okay, thank you, Ramel. That was good. Thank you. Okay, this is from Donna. Is Donna here? No. Okay, so I will do Donna. She gave A a 5. Be a 1. And you should know what you're seeing here are what we now recommend. Everybody comes up with the viewer is in charge is a very important phrase that Ingo Swann actually invented back in the early 70s when he was working with the people at Stanford Research Institute. The viewer needs to come up with something that feels right to him. This is all about him. He does a remote viewing session, he does the feedback session, but what we recommend is during the judging phrase, you mark A as it compares to the picture A and a B as it compares to picture B. And that helps you then when you then go through and review this. So you go down once, mark every single element, every single precept, including your sketches. And sometimes, in fact, I recommend people might use a lowercase a or an uppercase A for, yeah, a match, but not great, and uppercase A for a really good match. Other people actually do a small a next to the A or actually write out a big A if there's something really good. So that's what you see here. The extra A's and B's were added during the judging, just like you're going to do when we do our prediction. Okay, but now I'm going to get into my feedback mode. And again, I actually use another color or do it on a separate sheet of paper. And I will write feedback for 878179. I really like people to repeat the number. Goes through their body. You know, everybody has a unique sound. And that can connect up with saying the number out loud when you do your remote viewing session. Okay, so texture rippled, first thing she got, and that's marked great. Oh, that's terrific. Texture and rippled. Oh, well, I really got that. Sue, that feels really good. I like to look at the sketches, and I'm looking at the sketches, and I see, well, here's part of a circle. That looks pretty good. I don't quite know what to make of this, though that clearly maybe rectangle stuff, a table or something. Yeah. But no, I like the circle here. I marked it. And maybe what I'd like to do is add a circle here. Oh, and add multiple circles. Wow, I didn't get multiple circles. Oh, I see here I got rectangle. No, circle, and multiple circles. Yes, what does that feel like? Okay, sub, kind of get this and communicate this down all the way. So next time I get something similar to that, I'll know circle, multiple. Oh, I'm looking now and I see, look at this copper color. So shapes, where did I get shapes? Well, a half circle. Again, that's not so bad. I would say that maybe I should have put a little B here in the future. A half circle's kind of close enough. Yeah, not a rectangle. This is a circle. Dominant dimension here. Smells burnt. Well, that's interesting. This might be in a kitchen. I don't know about that. I'm not going to do anything with that. Swirling dimensions, closed in. Well, actually, I do have a sense of closed in here. You know, it's like up and close. Interesting. Maybe that's what you were sharing. This is probably maybe in a kitchen, or I don't know where this is. But anyway, dynamics, twisting, turning. No, this is stationary. Quiet. How does that feel? You know, this is what I'm sharing now with my subconscious, which goes deeper and deeper, is what it feels like to be quiet. still, stationary. That's what I'm sharing. That's what I'm sharing. So I'm working my communication channel. Happening, an event, overall feeling inside a gathering place. Marked A, well, this could easily be inside a gathering place. I definitely should have given that at least a B, looking at it now. But my judging wasn't that bad. All these A's, I don't know what they were. And so for some reason, my subconscious went to the other picture. I don't remember what it was, but I probably got these matches. And I want to be quiet now and ask my sub, why? Why would you not go to this feedback picture, the stuff I'm doing now, and why did you go to the judging session? Because that's the only time I saw this other photo site. And maybe the sub will give you an answer. Oh, well, I didn't get an answer, but I'm going to ask my sub, sub, don't do that. Yes, I know you're psychic. I'm psychic. Whatever reason it was, why not in the future? Don't do that. Stay focused on the feedback target. I think that'll make us both happier. Thank you, thank you. Okay, and then I'll write end of session again, feedback end of session or something like that. Done with the feedback session for Donna. Here's, I don't remember whose this is and I don't see the name up here. Does anybody recognize this? Okay.
Marty?
Yeah.
That's mine.
Oh, okay, good, Evelyn. Okay, good. I would love your A's and B's. Why don't you do your feedback session for this now?
Okay, well,
Don't describe it to us. I really mean, unless that's how you would do it to yourself. I really mean do it like you would do it. And saying words out loud, they always recommend you do say things out loud. So do your feedback session.
well, the bottom drawing, is always my last one, and I had this sensation of swirling around and actually when I did my feedback session, when I did my judging, I actually wrote the word vortex. So to me, this thing, you hold it up and you swirl things around in it, so it becomes like a vortex, the use of it. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, I didn't think about it being in a kitchen. The word kitchen never came to me, but the idea, the use of this thing was. So the swirling around, to me, fit quite well. And in the Gestalts, I wrote the word smiling. So it's almost like it's a smiley face if you look at it. The
two eyes
shape
over here. Okay.
and it, to me, it has a lot of little triangles in it. I didn't write those down, but as you were judging with some of the other ones, I see triangle shapes everywhere on it rather than rectangles or anything else. But the sense of moving up and down isn't there so much that I saw, but you can see there's like little holes in that first drawing. So I got the idea of holes. I just felt like it was something that was moving up and down. And then the sense of rolling in the middle drawing. So, and warmth and everything else was kind of a knot. I did mark dusty and red as being part of it because copper kind of has a dusty idea to it, and it has a red tinge to it. So I did mark those, and the last words under aesthetic impact, I wrote those down after you had called time. So I don't know if those were just coming out of my intellect or what, but none of them actually fit too much with that. And none of the AOLs fit. So it was the drawings that actually fit. And I find that seems to be a common theme with me, that the drawings fit one and often the words fit the other. And so
Okay, now go back within 5 seconds and say, that's what I'm noticing, that the words fit the other more than I'd like. Sub, why don't you get them coordinated so they both match the feedback target? See what I'm saying? That would be the kind of thing you would communicate to your subconscious. Opening up that communication a little bit more, setting that intention, and also do it as expectation. I know that's what you're going to do in the future, and feel that. The emotions get involved with all this as part of the communication channel, so you want to feel good about what you're recommending to your sub, etc., or sharing with your sub. Because it's just like a new language, if you were to go off to a foreign country that you've never been to, how would you go about learning the language? Well, you'd find stuff and share information, right? Well, that's what you're doing with your communication channel.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Here, I see you got a B was a 4, and notice what Evelyn does. She counted the number of B's and number of A's. That gives her an idea of which way to go. But again, there's this issue of strength. Like this was really very strong. I mean, these are circles, okay? And I don't even know. My sense was that this was a kitchen, but I've had several people, in fact, Ramel said it before at the time, said they didn't see it as a kitchen. Who knows? Maybe it was a workshop, which is what Ramel saw it as. Maybe they made this here. We don't know, but your job is to describe and sketch what can be verified from here. Okay, and we can't verify whether it's a workshop or a kitchen. Doesn't matter. That's very high level stuff. Your job was to do just what you did here. You got the circle. And when you got this, okay, you got the feeling of it swirling and revolving, and I can see that. That makes good sense, and that was completely consistent with everything you did, and that's what led you to give it a 4. So that's great. Okay, any comments about that? That's really the end of the feedback phase of this webinar, this class. And so if there are any questions on how to do feedback, the significance of it, that it all begins there, turn on your mic or put something in the chat box. Okay, so now let's do a prediction. Okay, so wait, I need to press that. I went off here. Now, you remember, right? The whole purpose of remote viewing is to describe your future target for XXXXX. Well, guess what? We need now, as the group manager, to decide on what it is we're going to predict, okay? And I've done that here. We're going to predict, and I wrote it, this is all of the monthly predictions, but this prediction happens to be, will Google close over 1,000 on July 7th, a month from now. Now it turns out we wouldn't even have to tell you that. We can just give you a coordinate and make it totally blind. But my feeling is it makes it more interesting, and it's not a big enough front loading because none of us know whether the answer is yes or no. Plus, you don't know which picture is associated with yes and which picture is associated with no, so it doesn't hurt anything. But just to put this in context, this is Google for a year. These are daily candles, just like you saw before. So these are down days, the greens are up days, and this is 1,000 because you probably can't read it. This is 950. We're right now at about 980. And so we're talking about, will it actually go up 20 points and be up a month from now? You know, it could go up and come down. That isn't what we're asking. We're asking, what will it be on at the close of a specific day? So it could be a yes or no here easily. And our cue again, describe and or sketch. Sometimes I just use the word describe, but it always includes sketch. There's the coordinate. Right now, start getting into a happy mood. We're about to have some fun here and enjoying our remote viewing. Intention, attention, and expectation. So right now, do set an intention to get a good match with the remote viewing session you're going to do, and expect that. Okay, let's now, I reviewed this already, right? We talked about this one. We didn't talk about this one, but it'll come up again. Let me do that after I get the coordinate, okay? So as the tasker, just as before, using the program that we've developed over, many years actually, this would be the tasking kind of email you would get in your email box from whatever specific your group you're in. If you're not already in a group, please let me know and be happy to put you in a group. So you would be in a group and you would get an email like this, and then notice it's got the event here. Will it close over 1,000? Because when I set this up, those are the words I put in. And it's got the start date of the event, which is when the market closes on July 7th, and the transcripts are due today. So then all you do is click here, and there we've got it. What comes up is something, I just want to make it bigger. Comes up, looks like this. It's got webinar workshop set up, but you have to put in your own email address because you're going to get a unique coordinate. But now I'm doing that as a representative, and we recommend starting out with one coordinate. You can do two coordinates later if you want to, but we're going to do one coordinate today. I click this, and there we have it. We now have, and on the top of your sheet of paper, the coordinate is 881189. And why don't you, in fact, you could say it out loud. The next step is to do the remote viewing session, and so I'm now going to guide you through that. And some of you guys who've been around now have a coordinate, so you can start. After you do for your newbies, after you do your transcript, you then have to upload it to the server by taking a picture of it, by doing a scan one way or another, fax. You could fax it to yourself, but you need to get it onto your computer, and then it gets uploaded, and when you hit submit, you will then be able to do the judging. But right now, what we're going to do is the remote viewing session. So let's go back here, and you always have to prepare to do the remote viewing session. So we've just done the email part. And so now we've got to do a few things here. All of this is leading up to doing the session and the cool down. But the first thing you do is you get out your piece of paper, you write the coordinate on the top and say it out loud, and you're going to put your name, date, and time in. So all of the newbies should put 881189 on the top. And as you saw, people have different ways of doing it, but this is the way I recommend for newbies. Here is a form, which if you email me, I'm happy to send you, but it has all the kinds of things you might get on. You know, the textures, colors, dimensions are big, a place for sketches. Notice we talked about the Gestalts and sketches and some big picture words coming in right away. Those usually come up here. Here's the coordinate, and after the coordinate, I didn't emphasize it, but on those transcripts, you'll see they'll write the coordinate, say it out loud, and then do what looks like a squiggle, looks like a doodle. We call them ideograms or pictograms, and they sort of get things going. You know, you're using your whole body, including your physical body, and this helps to get things going. Plus, it's almost part of the language. You begin to see, like almost universally, a little squiggle like that might mean a person to a lot of people, not to everybody. Partial rectangle, like the outline of a building, might mean structure, man-made structure. And so there's actually part of the communication channel happens right here. Okay, so you've got your coordinate, you put your name, date, and tied up here. Even before we start, we haven't really started the formal remote viewing session, but in a way we have. And because you're setting your intention, you're doing a get ready, you're quieting down. AOLs for the newbies is analytical overlays. Remember, you're now going into a mode where you want to be 90% intuitive, 90% right brain, 90% witnessing what's coming up from your submerged consciousness, from your subconscious, the stuff which is not quite here now, but is coming up and is the new now, and it's coming up from your subconscious, from the place that has all this information about the feedback target. And we call that also trash because you get this sense of the analytical stuff that comes up feels different than the stuff coming up from the subconscious. The mind will come up red. Yeah, okay, I got red from my sub. Hey, I drew something round, and oh, it must be a basketball. Well, notice the oh, it must be a basketball is kind of an analytical thing. It has a different feeling. You write basketball over here. It leaves you open now to go back, get quiet again, and be open to receiving a new element, a new precept from your subconscious. So we typically put those over here on the right. Okay, and so this part, actually just listening and writing things down to yourself, that's the remote viewing session. What we're doing now is what's called cool down. Very important part of this. It's a mind discipline. You need to quiet your mind. You empty the mind of your day-to-day stuff, of the chatter that usually goes up with the left brain. You just want to quiet that. And this is a kind of meditation. In fact, a lot of people that do this love it for this part of it because it's the part of the day when they get to be really quiet, and meditation has lots of side benefits. But now you're doing it with the intention of describing and sketching your feedback target. And that's your intention. That's your expectation. I'm really going to do a really good one. It feels really good. And I'm just paying attention to what comes up from my subconscious. Just one little bit of physics here to make the intellect okay to kind of disappear and go quiet. Physics has, at the very, very, very smallest scales, I mean, we're talking subatomic, like blow up of factors of 10 to the 35, so small it has no meaning to you. But down at that level, in every part of your body, in every part of the universe, in places we think are vacuums, there is energy. There is matter and antimatter combining. There's a field, sometimes it's called a zero-point energy field. 0 point because it's as small as you can get in quantum mechanics. And this is, I believe, can't prove this, but I believe it's down there. Okay, so at every part of your body, every part of your being is connected with this quantum foam, which is connected to everything in space and time. Quantum foam is everywhere, every time, every when. And it's through this, physically through your body, it comes up into your nervous system, is how the subconscious somehow communicates this information. So begin to quiet your body now. And what you're really talking about, if this circle represents all that is, and this is you, you have all that is, can come through your body. And it's like Skip Atwater, who is the head of the remote viewing army unit, so these guys obviously were thinking a lot about that. He says, some say that we pass from spirit into the physical at birth. Conversely, pass from the physical world into the spirit at death. I say that we never pass from the spirit. So it's like you're communicating with your soul, with your spirit, and the information is coming from there. Okay, so breathe deeply, start getting quiet. This cool down is so important because it's what opens you up for this communication channel to give you the right information. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes. Okay, you're already starting actually to do this cool down. Just deep down, set this intention and your positive expectation, and you're going to witness what your sub does. Now, some of you may like to use sort of a quiet hemisync kind of noise. It comes from the Monroe Institute, but it's like a background noise that gets you deeper. Joe McMonagle used to use it, and it just helped him with his cool down. There's some words after 2 minutes, and then 1 minute before, I'll give you a warning that you have 1 minute left, and that's it. Okay, so let's start our 10 minutes now. Oh, I am going to put in the chat box. I'll put this in the chat box because you'll have to get it yourself. Sorry about that. The newbies.
Let go of your physical senses, body, and turn in.
You've got about a minute to go. Perhaps ask your inner self, your deep self, for one more precept or element, one or two, and then come on back. Okay. Okay. Come on back. Maybe stretch a little. We now want to get back into your day-to-day regular self. I hope you enjoyed your remote viewing session. Now what we're about to get into is the analysis judging, where we'll choose the yes versus no. So after you do your remote viewing session, I personally believe it's good to take a little break and not go immediately into the judging session, but some people do. The very process of browsing, of taking a picture, say, of your transcript so you can get it into your computer. This seems to be pretty standard. Most people don't have trouble. If you do have trouble, email me and we'll take you through it. Sonia, yeah, I see your question. We're going to first do the judging. I'm going to want you to mark up your transcript, and then I'll actually have you send it to me. But in general, as part of a group, what you would do is take a picture of it, scan it, somehow get it into your computer, and then you would hit the browse button there, and up comes this standard kind of approach, at least standard for the PCs, where you then search for the place where you put your transcript. Now, I didn't do a session, so I put in a dummy to show the approach, because I want to be able to show you the next step. So you would find yours normally, not today, but normally you would go and put it in here by finding it, and then once you click submit, the two possible choices for analysis and judging come up. So I'm going to click this now, and this will be the time you see it. But now remember, you're now moving to an intellectual mode. You're going to look at them, but you don't want to get real emotionally involved with them. You know, this is mostly intellectual. So here you're going to see what are the two choices to compare to your transcript. There you go. So these are the two choices. What I'd like you to do on your transcript with either, you know, two different colors or they don't even have to be, since you can use A and B. You can start doing the judging by doing the matching. And so this is photo site A, this is photo site B. We will be putting in ranking systems in here, but for now, don't worry about that. Just go through carefully. Judging is a place where you don't want to come back when you do your feedback session and say, oh, look at the stuff I missed that was so obvious. So the judging takes intellectual attention, right? That's part of consciousness. The intellect is part of consciousness. So now you pay attention to the elements and words that you put down and mark A versus B. And we'll talk about the TARG scale. I'm going to put it up now, but right now you're just going A versus B. If there's something that's a super good match, make a big A out of it one way or another, indicate that that's a stronger attachment. You think that really came through from the your subconscious and was really connected to the feedback target. Not this. It's got nothing to do with your remote viewing session per se, because there you're looking at the feedback target. Yes, it's one of these or the other, and it's the one that gives you the best match, because that was your intention and expectation. Okay, as you saw in the examples of feedback we did, you give yourself space to be close enough and still mark it as a match with an A and B. It's not going to be exact. It's your subconscious learning to communicate with you, and so give yourself a little room, if you will, in terms of the matches. And yet we call it analysis and judging because you don't want to give it too much room. And how much is that? That's for you to decide. And that's kind of in a way where the 10% intuition comes in. Does this come from your subconscious, or does it come from the intellect, or is it just noise? Okay, let me now give you the email address, which is mine. You probably all have it. Once you've done the A's and B's, I'd like you to do two things. One, email me as an attachment, or I guess you can, if it copies in the body, but mostly do it as an attachment to my email address, which I just did, and then in the chat box, put A and a number between 0 and 7, and B a number between 0 and 7. And now I want to explain what that means. So if you're still doing your judging, that's fine. Take your time, as long as it takes. In fact, people usually don't spend enough time. That's why they miss things. But here's the TARG confidence ranking system. It was done by Russell Targ at Stanford Research Institute, and it's just a way of letting someone else and yourself know how good of a match you think you feel you have. 0 is basically no correspondence. Turns out that's actually tough. Usually there's some element that you wrote down that will match, you know, reasonably well. Little says just a little correspondence. Yeah, you just got a little. Mostly you don't have what you'd call correct information, but a little something. 2 is chance. You know, you might have 1 or 2 things. You might got a color right. You might got a little shape right. But most of your transcript is simply off compared to the one picture. Remember, let's say A compared to A. You don't have any A's down there, or maybe 1 or 2 out of 15 or 20, you know, something like that. And so that might just be chance. You get a sense of chance, but you don't feel like you did anything psychic. 3 is psychic. You have a mixture of correct and incorrect elements, but enough of the former, enough of the correct, that you feel you actually made contact with the target. You made this precognitive, psychic, if you will, connection with the target via your feedback. So the information came from the target at, you know, connected with the feedback that you're going to see about a month from now in this case. Now, 4 goes from this kind of mixture, but enough for the correct that you feel, yeah, you made contact, to good correspondence. Now you feel really comfortable that you had several good matchable elements that you felt really good about, intermixed with some incorrect information. It's not going to be perfect. We take 3.5 to be the place where it would be wagerable. You now say, okay, I'm going to give it a 3.5. I'd be willing to wager maybe a few bucks on it. And then a 5, this is really good correspondence as before, but now he's added these words which say that you've got to step it up a little bit. Unambiguous, unique, matchable elements. We've had conversations in trying to define that exactly, and you can't. You know, even though you use the word unambiguous, it really means things like strong. Maybe it's strong in total because there's so many pieces that you got. But unambiguous, unique, matchable elements is a 5. By the time you get to 6 and 7, this is where the AOLs, the analytical overlays, come in. You've got naming the function of the target, or actually naming the target, and very little for a 6, incorrect information, and a 7 is like spot on, essentially no incorrect information. So that's the 0 to 7. And okay, so start sending me your transcripts, and in the chat box, because I'm going to put that in a spreadsheet so we can look at what everybody did and I can make a group prediction, put A and one of these TAR confidence levels, 0 to 7, and then a B, 0 to 7. And you can do it in one, A a number, B a number. I'm not seeing any. You guys, take your time though. You just want to do this right. Let me see if anybody is. No, okay, good. I'll make this as big as possible. You know, going back after you do your A and B's and reviewing, and then getting how you feel on the 0 to 7 system is the way this works. Okay, thank you, Evelyn. And obviously you do this totally independent from anybody else. Sonia, I notice you put a letter, but I really think it's worth, and then we can discuss it, but it's worth going through this TARG system and giving me an A, how strong you think it is, and then a B, how strong you think it is. A B alone really is not enough. We need to have a sense of how strong you feel your contact was with the target. Okay. Okay, I feel like I've got half of them. Are there any questions about this, or someone is not going to do it? Because, you know, there's 6 of you here and I only have 3 numbers. But take your time. I'm not rushing you. I just want to make sure that you feel comfortable doing the judging. As comfortable as one can get. Okay, I am going to, okay, so you know, I think my mail thing stopped. I'm gonna have to reboot it here. Okay, so it looks... Okay, so I've got yours, Evelyn. Oh no, that's the old one. That's the 878 is the old one. Okay, my email had a problem, but let me make sure I don't miss any. Okay, Vince. Very good, Vince. Okay, well, yours came in first, so let's look at yours first. But I don't, well, let's see if you didn't put it on here. Okay, you marked the A's and B's nicely, 81189, correct. Don't say it out loud at judging time. You don't want to attract it. I can't quite read it. Do you have a mic? And let me put this one over here. And if the rest of you haven't finished judging, that's fine. Take your time to do it right. Okay. Okay, Vince, are you still there? Can you put in the chat, maybe you don't have a mic or maybe you left. Oh, there you are. Good. Okay, go ahead. Turn on your mic. And why don't you just talk us through this roughly, especially since I can't read it. And also you have to tell me what you gave for the confidence ranking for A and B. And you know, you may not even want to do it. People at first just don't want to have to make a judgment. And that's a part of learning how to be a judge, is getting over the I don't know, feeling that, you know, you don't really know how to do it. How do I judge? What's right? What's wrong? You jump in and you do it. And then you see how it, at feedback time, you will get to review the judging as well as part of your feedback session, and that's how you learn. Okay, so I don't see your mic. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, so talk to us. I don't hear you. You're unmuted, but I don't know. I can't hear you, Vince. I don't think anybody can hear you. No. Yes, I see that, but the mic, your mic must not be working right. Okay, let me. Okay, I'm going to go to another. Yeah, your mic is, his mic is green. I see it as green, but it's not working. Why don't you see if you can get it working? I'll just go to another transcript, but as soon as you get yours working, then we'll make yours the next one, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you look like you have more for A, but see, I don't know anything about the quality of it. And since I'm going to make the group measurement, I do want to know that. Okay, so there's Vince, there's Lila. Let's look at Lila's. Okay. I guess I can close this. Okay, Lila, you've got a mic. Why don't you tell us what happened here? I see you gave, right, perfect, 4.5 right here. You wrote it down. Okay, why don't you talk us through it and tell us, you know, what your experience was. Were some stronger than the others, etc.?
Yeah, some of my first impressions were watery something impressions. So that was clearly with photosite B. I can't believe I didn't get any textures. The textures, that just confounds me.
Right.
But
Feathery, furry, plush, sandy.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Hey, you know, you asked for textures and it wasn't as close as textures for my feedback picture. You know what I mean?
I think that the clouds from the exhaust are kind of feathery.
Yeah.
Exhaust clouds, but that's the closest I came.
Okay, so why?
I'm sorry? Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So, what else here? Let's see. This one was a tough one for me. I felt like I couldn't concentrate too much, so I really had to try harder than I have in other sessions. And like I said in there in my notes, I got a real good feeling of the clouds down at the bottom of the space shuttle, but I couldn't describe it. I couldn't put it into words. I couldn't really even draw it. And that's what I'm working on mostly is drawing my ideograms.
Yeah, this is good. Right. And here, like one thing on top of another, so that's why you gave that an A. You got metal right away, but you also got grass. And this is important for everybody to understand. These two numbers are pretty close together and high. You know, 3.5 says if all she had was that comparison, and you can see with grass and red, I'm just picking those one up, wide, yeah, space. I'm looking to see if I have any comments about. Is that crashing? If that's crashing,
yes, crashing.
I would make that an A. I mean, that's a crashing sound, a loud sound. I'm just, you know, all I can do is give you my feedback, and then you have to see if you agree or not. But that certainly could be an A.
And when you said that we had about a minute left and go into our sub and see if we can pull out one more, I pulled out into sounds. I pulled out the word boom. And I thought that was pretty significant.
Yes.
Where the dynamics talk about wispy and cottony, I'm talking about the clouds, the exhaust clouds.
Right, but that makes sense. Are there any strong for Bs? I mean, it looks like the A ones are, well, grass, of course, is strong.
Grass and wide open. And then that line in my ideogram down at the very bottom, that long line where I have B under it, that is the grass area, the open space. That's what that is.
Right.
I got that sense early on.
Okay. Fair enough. And I think that's reasonable. I don't see how you could do anything else. And the fact that you had a struggle with it is also a sign that there was something going on. You might ask your sub about that. Because I think, you know, listening and relaxing with it, I think makes it better. So in some ways, this was self-consistent, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Let me turn that one off. Okay, so Vince is starting to, give us the words here. So you got in the chat box now, which all of you should be able to see as well. Blue sky, high, up in the air. Sand ocean, clear sky, green, linear looking over the ocean, linear, yeah, I was assessing, but okay. Fresh, windy, breezy, blue sky, high. Okay, well, I look at those words and I certainly can see why you got a lot of A's, and the green again would certainly be a B. An ocean type view. Well, that's kind of interesting. I mean, there's the water in the background here. I don't know if this is...
Is that water or is that outside?
Kept seeing an ocean type of view. Did you get water per se? Well, you got sand, he got ocean, and you wrote ocean here someplace. Yeah. You know, it's so interesting because this is a place, and it's good to notice it because it's going to happen to you again, where at least for me, I have two thoughts. One, I don't know, this reminds me a little bit of an ocean. There's certainly water vapor and that kind of stuff in here. But also I know that virtually all of these are near water. But I know that. But it's not quite verifiable from the picture, so I don't know if I should give credit to it or not. And there's uncertainty, and I'm a judge, and if I were judging this, I don't know what I would do. At best, for this one, I would give it a small little a, you know, as opposed to a big A. Now for ocean here, I don't know, yeah, this is clearly water, so I would give that an A, as you probably did. I mean, I would give that a B. Sorry, this is photo site B. And that's probably what you did here. Okay, now I'm going to put you on the spot, Vince. I want you to force yourself. Sonia, yeah, we'll do, and if you can send me a transcript, we'll do yours too. But Vince, I want to force you to put an A down, a confidence ranking for an A, and a confidence ranking for a B. Would you be willing to wager on the match? Let's focus on A first. Would you be willing to wager on the amount of A? Was that a psychic connection, do you think? Or was it chance? Okay, a 4.5. Good. And now what for B? A 2.5. Okay, unfortunately, I know, and you know, and you've seen some of the others, well, it looks like ocean down here. But you're right, we may not know. And if, as a judge, he thought it was ocean, but you're right, that may be a little bit vague. I agree. Okay, Vince, I see you. We're not able to hear you, but we see you. Okay, so let me just say one other thing. It's probably impossible now that we've seen so many 4.5s, if you were to do judging on your own, to do it independently. I used to have people, and maybe I'll go to that again, put it in the private chat, but people just had too much trouble with that. But I think I might do that next time. Okay, let's go to another one. Thank you, Vince. I'll go here, here, here. I can put mine on too, so then I can't quite see as well. Oh, you turned yours off? Okay. It turns out I'm going to turn mine off for a different reason, just because I need to have my screen like this. Let's now go, let me get rid of that transcript, and let's see what else we have here. Okay, so we did Vince's, did we just do Evelyn's, right? And now let's do Ramel's.
No, we did my other one. Marty, can you hear me?
Yeah, wait, I'm just turning off this call.
Yeah, you did my other one, but go ahead and do Rommel first.
What do you mean I did your other one?
You didn't do the one from this session. You did the one.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's why. No, I'll go in order. Okay, very good. So why don't you now
because mine
tell us?
was one of the later ones that came in, I think.
No, you're next.
Oh, okay,
You're
that
next in
is it.
line. Yeah, you're next in
Yeah.
line. Okay. So tell us. Did you write your? Yeah, you gave your A 4.5. Tell us why.
Well, the first thing I got was this rising. Well, I did the ideogram, and I kind of, felt like it was in an upward direction at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first thing I got was rising up from a circle, and I actually had that thought, rising up from a circle.
Interesting.
And the idea of smelly feet came really fast too, and it's like maybe the smell of the sulfur or whatever, maybe the
Right.
smell. I've never been at a shuttle launch. Maybe it does smell like smelly feet. And so then I kind of got the idea of maybe a workout of some kind, and so that was kind of my AOLs, was that, like a workout, like somebody doing CrossFit or whatever. But so I wrote the word sour on this under smells, and obviously that would be a sour smell. I don't know about smelly feet, but it would be sour. And then the metal bar, and if you, that one tower poking up on the far left, that I would call a metal bar, and the third sketch is of something like that. And the second sketch was, it was, something, if you turn it upside down, it could be the rocket. So I'm upside down with it, but I think it relates more to the rocket than the guy with the umbrella. Now, it's funny, if I turn it upside down, the first drawing, if I turn it upside down, that could be the guy with the umbrella with the circle.
That's what I wanted you to at least say.
And so both of those, if I turn them upside down, could be B, could be B. But I feel more like they're A, because it was the idea of this activity, frenetic activity. I called it a workout, but a rocket would certainly be, or, the shuttle would be a frenetic activity as well. So that was more the gestalt that I had from it. But a feeling of happiness.
Did you write frenetic anyplace?
No.
Activity or activity? Did you write that down?
No, I didn't. I'm just saying it as I,
But you had it, no, but during your session, you felt there was a lot of excitement, a lot of activity and stuff going on?
Well, I called it a workout, but being in a gym, working out and having all kinds of sweaty activity was what I was.
Up. Yeah.
And the rising up and the metal rod. And then the very last drawing I wrote again was this idea of something moving up, rising up.
Okay, that was your intention there. Okay. You see, it takes those kind of words, at least in my mind, to justify the 4.5. But that does justify it, because this one is so peaceful. It's clear that that's one of the biggest contrasts between these two, is the sound, the noise, the activity, versus this. But the rainbow and what you said about upside down, you know, that's enough that, well, I don't know. Is that a 2? Is that a 2.5? But by itself, it is not enough, and you do not have much other support for B. So I would, is that a B? What did you write there?
That just says shuttle, and it says umbrella, man with umbrella and rainbow. So,
Oh,
you
you
know,
wrote that
so
down
I write that down
after
sometimes
side.
so I can
Okay.
remember what the picture was.
Okay, got it. Okay. Um, very good. I have no problem with that. I even see this as something between clouds, possibly, you know. Move just like we recognize that you can turn things at almost any angle. Apparently, the exact orientation of things up, down, left, right isn't something which comes most naturally to the communication channel, because we see that kind of mix up all the time. Again, when you see it, tell yourself, oh, that was nice. You really came close. If you want to come a little closer, you know, it should be this way. You would want to do that at feedback time. But it's the same thing here. I mean, this looks like it's between, there are a lot of things which are between two others. And I actually like that, even though you didn't mention it, so I'm just adding that. Okay, very good. Thank you, Evelyn. Now, let's see, there was the next one was Ramel. And then Sonia. Okay. Okay, let's get this. Oh, it looks like I wrote on yours here. It doesn't look like it covered too much, though.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, here and there. Okay, Ramel, why don't you take us through this? You got a 4.5 and a 3.
Yeah, yeah. The very first thing is a downward spiral looping around and escaping horizontally upwards. So there's an upward pattern. And I got an AOL of the flight of a balloon.
Oh,
Flight.
wow.
So
Okay.
the flight thing
Right.
connects with A more.
Oh, yeah.
And then so I have to like do another session, another take it another level. It's like because I don't want to, like be just focus on the flight.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Grooving around, looping angularly across upward again. So it's just like constant upward thing. So I thought that would be definitely an A.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got those borders that has like holes in it. This is like one of those sci-fi movie that I see like when it opens up, and there's something around it. It's actually a metal man-made, metallic man-made. It's the bordering, and there's scientific. Silvery, black, so those are A, except for the black. The black is also B.
B.
I AOL this as scientific device, so that's bordering on A more than B. There's an angle here, protruding angular clanging sound. See here, repeating patterns again, bordering. It's something about there's a motion is bidirectional. So to me, that would be more of an A, because for the rocket to launch up, it needs to push down.
Right.
So the motion is bidirectional in analyzing it that way.
Interesting.
And yeah, and on the second page, there's multi-level dimensionality. There's filtering, purification. That would, for me, connects more with A because of the scientific technological thing that needs to happen. There is, reflection. Yeah, there is a reflective emphasis on A, although the B can also be reflective in some ways. On second page, distortion of images, I see more on B. It looks quite distorted because like when you look at the
up here,
the photo, and it's like this, you capture the whole thing, and then this person it looks much bigger than the rainbow, because the rainbow is supposed to be bigger. To me, that's like distortion images. I would see more like a B, and then the curve there's definitely a rainbow structure.
Right.
Although I label it as thick bordering, which is like, to me, solid. So I'd give that like a B for a really good image. but a small a for the other one because I'm sure there's this hole in there that, you know, that all this stuff comes out from. Another thing, the meeting together. I look at it more like an A-B because when you're on a solitude or solitary or reflective meditative mode, you meet with your soul, or there's a connection kind of thing. So definitely there's an aspect of B there. This thing about no means to escape from this, for me, that would be an A, because once you're in there, you can't come out. And there's also a need to secure. So like that's definitely an A for me. And then the lower part of that, the blooming, I'd see that would be more connected to the clouds, although the blooming of the foliage of the tree on B can also be a B perspective.
What did you do over here? You say a tree by
the cemetery.
Oh,
so
that's what you wrote. Okay, so a tree by a cemetery. Okay, got it. Okay,
by a cemetery,
because that would be closer to here.
Yeah, but then again, when you look at them, it's like there's man-made, what it seems like catacombs or like signs. But then on the other side, on B, on A, you see that the blooming, and then there's definitely a lot of man-made stuff around this rocket.
Right. No, I understand why you're giving it an A.
And then a B. So.
Yeah, and a little bit, yeah. Yeah, because that's the way these things are, blooming. Okay.
On page 3, there's like this definite like vertical line coming up there. That's an A. The spike there, the bordering again. The B would be like more the green. I don't see any greens on A. So yeah, one thing that's really struck me, that's why I didn't really label, like it looks like A to me should be like a 5.5 or something, but I didn't really label it as such because I feel like the what gets me is the captured of the rainbow thing. That's very significant on that aspect
here
of B. That's why, you know.
Right.
But I'm leaning more towards kind of like an A because of the metallic and the scientific aspect of the session.
Okay, I get your intellect. When I'm looking for, now here you got green, and you made that a small b?
It's actually a B. It's not this. Yeah, because you cannot really mix the two, because I don't really see any strong angular thing on B.
Well, okay. So and this is where, when you do it yourself, so these rectangles and green sort of go together in your mind.
Yes, all together with the borders.
Green rectangles and this border.
Yeah,
because...
but the main thing is the borderings, like the border.
Okay. Again, what I'm always trying to do here is find if you missed anything, because that's what always gets you at feedback, the generic you. Okay, very good. Thank you. And I think the 4.5 looks to be just about right.
That's right.
Yeah. And everybody should know when different people judge the same picture, even with the same transcript, they differ typically by about 1. So judging is just that, and different people will judge differently, and don't feel bad in any way that you don't get it exactly right. There is no right. It's a judgment. Let me see if this is the same thing. Oh, and this one's upright. Okay, very good. Okay, Sonia, can you turn on your mic and tell us what you did here? Let me get the pictures up again. There we go. Okay, and I don't have, okay, Lila left, but Sonia, I don't have numbers for you. Do you have a mic? Okay, Vince asked a very good and relevant question. And the question is because A is in fact more. No, we cannot hear you, Sonia. I heard Ramel, so it's something local. Well, let me answer Vince's question. Since it's more dynamic, it's got more force compared to the more serene, would the sub be drawn to it? You know, it's more exciting. And I mean,
Hello.
hi, Sonia. Okay,
Hi.
beautiful. I hear you. Let me answer Vince's question, and then we'll go right to you. Okay?
Okay.
Because it's a good question. Because people often will say, "That's why I did that one," when it's the wrong one, and it may in fact be true for them. And then that's something that you have to get over. You need to learn the feeling of serene. You know, the way that question is asked and the way most people, when they use that idea, it's as if it's sort of out of the big U control. And the very fact that you're thinking it gives energy to that happening. So you need to use the 5-second rule, in my opinion, and say, well, you know what, maybe that was true right now, but it certainly doesn't have to be true. I can know scenes, and I've certainly experienced a lot of quiet, serene scenes, and beautiful, seeing the beauty, the quiet beauty of a scene like this. And I ought to be able to communicate that, and I can communicate it. So that's the best I can do. It's an issue that comes up a lot when people were to get a miss, and they would often say, oh, that's because I like the other one. But all that is excuse is sort of a harsh word for it, but it gives the intellect a nice rationale, and that isn't what you want to do. You immediately want to go and turn it into something positive that I can do better. I can always distinguish between them, things like that. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Vince. You know, we're in a field where a lot of these questions are not as crisp as anybody would like. Okay, Sonia, it's all yours.
Okay.
What numbers did you give, though? I don't have for you A and B's. Maybe I missed them, but...
No, I'm not sure how to do that yet.
Okay, let's
But
talk.
I mostly saw a B and maybe the A too because of the metallic, what I thought were like those lines that I drew.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't do a good job. I did it really quick, but the spaces were pretty much even, and there wasn't much space between them, but they were long, concave, like metallic, white, grayish metallic, and it looked like it was on the field. The background was a dark bluish gray. I didn't see any clouds. I thought I heard a loud, like, cow noise. I wasn't sure what I heard. And then I saw something that resembled maybe a cow, or it was, if you take a cow and you split it in half and look at the backside, it kind of had that shape, but it didn't see the legs. I wasn't sure what I saw. It was so quick. I didn't draw it. But that's what I saw, and I saw it in a blink of an eye because I've been seeing things in a blink of an eye with it for many years now.
You should know that is typical. Let me just reinforce that not only for you, but for everybody else. In fact, Ingo Swann, you know, was one of the guys at the very beginning, the psychic they used. He used to say all the information was in the ideogram. In other words, it's the number. You get it all. It moves you. And then it's a matter of evolving, touching it, getting the information down on the piece of paper. But the information comes in quickly. Okay, so
yes, I didn't have a chance to think. I mean, the moment I blinked, and you don't know when you're gonna blink, it happens. So at the moment I blinked, I saw it, and I already had it. So That's what I saw, and I didn't get anything else because I was trying to figure out how to send you the email.
No,
How
but
to
that's no.
download the photo because I'm not good at all that. I'm learning.
Okay,
So, yeah.
let's talk about the judging. Okay, if you were to go through these elements, now I see green, and I see green twice. So you would
That was
clearly
very
put
much
a,
like, sorry, like the bee photo. It was just
right.
like that. I almost saw, it was almost like it was a snapshot of a photo because I saw also the black on the bottom of the green like you have, but I also saw it like in a picture, like black on both on all sides. Even amounts it looked like. Yeah, and it was just one image. I didn't, the only sound I thought I heard was like a cow, but I wasn't sure what I heard. And yeah, I didn't get to do anything else. I was just trying to figure out how to send this thing to you.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. So let's just do it together for the learning for everybody. The green is strong. These lines could be, as you said, but clearly they could be this as well, right?
That's true.
So I would say you would have to put an A next to that, even though there's no green,
Right.
because I just don't know what those lines mean unless they're trying to say I love rainbows or something. And the cow, well, maybe the grass, but the sound is interesting because I think this is so quiet compared to this that you would probably give that an A as well. But looks like a field. That's clearly a B. And
Yes.
dark
I see what you're saying,
blue,
A and B
gray
now.
background, probably could be both. And you actually got a dimension of like 6 feet.
Or taller.
Or taller, which could be each of these trees or something. There was, first blush, it was trying to tell you that. Okay, so having said all that out loud, how would you rank this on that 0 to 7? Would you be willing to wager based on this transcript versus A?
Well, it's 3.5 because I didn't get anything more because I didn't try to get anything more. Like I said, I was too busy trying to promote and take a picture, all that kind of stuff. And
No, I understand that. But now, let's do the judging now. I want to force you to do it just because then you've done one. And then there'll be many more that follows. So I'm saying, okay, let me ask the question. Which do you think is a better match, this transcript to A or to B?
To B, because I saw more of the B, but then what confuses me is the A because of the metallic, what I saw like tall, metallic, those concave curves. And so, you know, it has me confused. I wasn't sure what I was looking at, tall grass or something metallic in the field.
Yep, I understand, and that's why judging is so difficult. Sometimes you should know, and this is of course what we all love, is you'll get a really, really good match, even better than this match for this, and then very little. You almost never get nothing for the other one. You almost
right. Sometimes I see like little mini video clips of stuff, of 100% clear. There's no doubt.
And then
so this is still a still image, and I rarely get still images. But then again, I wasn't ready for this. I didn't know what was going to happen in this meeting.
Okay, would you be willing to wager a little bit on B? In other words, did you feel comfortable enough that, yeah, I made psychic contact with this, but not as strong as I would like, but I'd give it a 3.5, in other words.
Yes.
Based on everything you're saying, that's kind of what I'm hearing for this one, is you would judge it as a 3.5. And then the other one lower, and so I'm giving that a 3.5. And then the other one, all you really got was this shape, well, dark blue gray.
Background, like sky.
And that's what this is. Certainly doesn't
No
look like
clouds though, no water or clouds.
right.
Like the other.
Well, I would say, and how do you feel about this? A little better than chance, a 2.5. I wouldn't say I could tell for sure you got connections. This one also has gray and blue in it. It's not dark blue, but it's certainly blue, and maybe that is. I'd give it a 2.5. Anybody else want to pipe in? What would they do? Okay, so I would give that a 2.5.
Okay.
And that's it. And you just have to make that judgment. And on the page where this is, you can always look up the TARC scale right here. All you have to do is click here. In fact, I'll click here. There it is. So, you know, it's not like you have to memorize it or anything like that. Let me see. I see Vince asked, would you be able to do, we do sporting events all the time. But we do binary. So we would ask the question, would the leader, oh, did I miss yours, Mark? Sorry. Of course. Oh. There it is. Sorry about that, Mark.
Sorry.
Let's do Mark, and then we can begin wrapping this up. Okay, let me bring up those pictures again. There we go. Okay, do you have a mic?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so let's see what you gave these. I don't see the judging there for you there. Yep, what numbers did you
Did I accidentally on, I must have accidentally covered that one up.
or maybe it's under here, which is mine.
I gave it a 4 for A and 3 for B.
Okay, good. Okay, and now, right. Okay, and tell us, you know, what you used, your logic and all that.
Okay.
We would like
first I saw the smoothness, and then orange and red, and a yellow streak going through the orangish and red color, but that could be either one. The orange, I think, is more for A, and the red is the color. I think that's the red of the color of the person there under the umbrella.
Yeah.
But I smelled something burning. And I didn't write it down, but it reminded me of a little science experiment that my dad did with me where he burned some steel shavings. So it was kind of a mixture of burning and metallic almost. I should have written that down in there too.
Right.
I gave that like an A+.
Okay, that's like a big A. That's good. You use your own style. A+ is understandable. Right.
All right. And then I did it again, and I got that same mixture of this time gray and yellow. But I think that's from both pictures also.
Okay, let's go back to this B. And I understand why it's a B, because as we've seen before, circles somehow only show up as arcs. And so an arc might, your subconscious might give you a circle filled in, but I see a lot of circles here.
Yeah, when I backed away from the picture, I actually changed that to A and B on mine here at home.
Okay, good. You see, that's the thing you do. When you do your judging, you've got to go back and review it and go back over it again. Okay, very good. Okay, super.
Because when I look back at the picture, it does look almost like there's a circle of orange with that's two yellow streaks going through the middle of the orangish color mixed in with the grayish bluish color of the clouds.
See, also I'm looking at it as a sub-element. Now, that's an interesting question about judging. like if you were to say, non-relevant to this case, let's say you said yellow car, and in the picture was a blue car. Don't you give some credit for the car even though the color was wrong? And people debate that, and you need to pay attention. What you do is you pay attention to that.
They look like structure though at all. They look like a smudge going through a smudge.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of this stuff here.
Yeah.
And down here and the circle.
I got a little bit of that thing with the rainbow. Looks almost like a yellowish smudge going through different color also. So I gave it both A and B, but the burning smell.
Yep, yeah, that's very powerful for A, of course. I like the fact that you're using color pencils to capture what you saw. That's great. Okay.
And then these are terrible drawings, I know, but my last one, I closed my eyes and I saw the shade of blue that matches almost exactly with what's in the background of this image.
This one?
On A.
Yeah.
Okay. And I saw darkness that matches almost exactly with that little building next to the shuttle. And I don't think I've got all of that in there. I should have done a second scan and sent you my third one as a separate scan.
Yeah, but that's...
But I saw the structure, or what looked almost like a structure, next to very dark blue. The third time that I closed my eyes to try to get colors, that's the color that I saw almost exactly, that dark shade of blue. I actually wrote it in here. I don't know if you can see it, but the gray and blue is in both pictures, but the fact that it's more blue than gray, I put as an A.
Yes, you even said it here. I do see it, more blue.
Yes.
Okay. And so, yeah, it definitely looks like you got more for, that's why you gave A of 4, more of A. And...
Well, I also did it because of something I didn't see at all, was I saw no green at all. I saw several colors, but no green. And so that's the thing that pops out of me on the one of the things that really pops out on B is the green grass and trees.
Right. Okay. And I think this is all so valuable to listen to each other, because it then helps you come up with other ideas while you're judging, and also different ways of picking up things while you're viewing. And so I thank you for that. I thank all of you for being willing to share your experiences during the remote viewing session and judging. So now let me bring over, I don't think I missed anybody, but here's the list. Judy, who left, I don't know, maybe she just doesn't do sessions, but I didn't get anything from her. But I've got from everybody else. And first of all, make sure that I've done this accurately. But I'm going to mark all the ones in yellow like I did before. That's mine that are over 3. I definitely don't want to keep that marked. I guess I could have done this differently, but anyway, it'll end off right. Okay, so on that side, and on this side, I only have 3.5s, which I make as gray, right? So I guess based on this, it's pretty clear, right? I don't have to talk it through. Sometimes they're a lot harder when they were closer. Like the last one, this is much stronger than the last one we did, which I believe had 3 yellows on one side and 2 on the other. So this is, I'm going to say, group prediction for A. Okay, so that's pretty clear, right? Now, how would you as an individual go about doing this? You would put in, if you were Evelyn, you would put in right here where it says confidence ranking. Evelyn would put in a 4.5 right there. And she would put in, I don't have a 1.5, so she would say, which way is it leaning? And maybe she would do a 2. So Evelyn would do that. She'd put in comments similar to the comments that she shared with us. You know, what were her feelings? How strong does she feel about it? Hey, she gave the 4.5 because there were some good matches with this and this and this. And then you'd click submit. So that's what each of you would do with your coordinate and your pair, which would be different. What I'm going to do is, geez, a 4.5 I think holds. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And this 4 is so close to the 3 that I give it a little less credit in my mind as I do this one. I'd like them to be more than one apart. One is okay, but more than one is even better. But I've got 2 of those here. So 4.5 works there. And on this side, you know, it's just low. I do have 2 3.5, so I'll make it a 2.5. Again, this is a combination of mostly the intellect using these, but I don't like just to average them or stuff like that. I don't think that works. I think it's better to do what I'm doing here, but everybody, you know, we have several group managers and they do things based on their own intuition and feelings about how it should go. Everybody is different, and that's terrific. Okay, notice we still don't know yes or no. We won't know that until I hit submit, but I do want to put in comments here. So this was a webinar learning training workshop. You guys did work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 predictions with CR greater equal 4 for side A, none. Well, let's just say 2 CR equal 3.5 for photo site B. Okay, and I said this wrong. I always go back and read my stuff because I always never get it quite right, but I always want to get it down fast. Okay, so this would be the text I put in for this one, and then I'll hit submit just like you would do, and the answer is yes. So you know, it repeats what I wrote. It repeats the CRs, and A was randomly associated with yes in this case, and so the only way you're going to see the shuttle launch is with a yes, and you mostly got yes information, and so that's the basis of the prediction. So I'm going to add this here now. After after submitting prediction, comma, prediction is yes. Okay, so that'll stay here until the next time, but I'll actually erase it. So we actually are now, you know, we talked about that. Here's a little joke I always give, which should remind you that there are analogies, metaphors, similarities, resemblance when you do judging. Don't expect it to be exactly right on. A couple of people said, oh, hey, I don't really draw that well. You draw it just right. You know, it's for you. You're putting it down to kind of remind you when you do the judging of what it was you experienced during your remote viewing session. So don't judge your drawings, you know, judge how it matches the actual target. I want to close with just two here. Notice.
Can I have a question?
Sure,
Marty?
please.
Regarding the don't judge your drawing, just judge your actual target. It just came to me like when we were discussing Sonia's work. She felt compelled towards more on the B, because somehow, you know, the gut level, intuitive level makes her feel like, because I feel the same way too. It's like, it's probably B, but then your work says more on A. So how do you go about judging to like, okay, this would be this, you know, like categorizing it? Because intuition is more on your gut level, you're feeling right, even sometimes, than necessarily what you see on, you know?
That's the 10%
Okay.
of intuition, and it is sometimes important. John Herlosky actually is named that. He calls it the nag, which I think is a good name for it, where, you know, in spite of everything that the intellect is telling you, there may be a part of the intuition that comes in and says, you know what, though, I still somehow feel it's the other one. And you know, intuition isn't going to give you a reason. It's a feeling, just like you said. My only advice on that is keep good records. I don't know how you're going to judge it one way or another. I can't tell you that you should go more with the intellect than the nag. You know, how strong was the nag? Is it a doubt? And you might, when that comes up, actually go quiet and investigate the nag. Was it just because you know you're not 100% and you're worried? Or is it because you got information from the feedback target that is telling you, you know what, in spite of that, it really is this one, and I sense the information is coming from my feedback target now, whereas before maybe it was a little off, but you know, you're period, you know, and I'm not sure I can say much more. It's a difficult situation, and it comes up from time to time. John Herlosky seems to get nags about 10% of the time. And he reverses some and he doesn't reverse others. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, it helps.
It doesn't help.
It's nagging me right now.
You know what it does?
After all this, it's like, it feels like, oh, I think it's B.
Oh,
you know,
you do? Interesting.
I know, it is quite interesting.
Anybody else feel that? But let me just tell you this. Watch yourself and keep records on that, because one time doesn't matter. And by watching yourself and paying attention to the feelings and all of that intuitive stuff, you know, intuition's still into consciousness. So the way that feels versus whether you got a hit or a miss, was it the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, keep track of that. You know, there's a lot more statistics you can keep track of than just the overall hit and miss.
I agree.
Okay, and notice in all of this, what you are doing is taking responsibility for the fact that your remote viewing task is to connect up with you during your feedback session, and the picture that's you're going to see there and send your consciousness to that place. And so here you're sending your consciousness to that same place and picking up all this information. So all of this
Marty,
is entangled in a beautiful way. Mm-hmm.
Marty, this
Yep.
is Evelyn.
Yep. Hi, Evelyn.
I've, as far as those that I've had as quote misses,
Mm-hmm.
it's from mostly from the judging, because I don't know if I've ever missed completely where I didn't have anything from the other photograph.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually did one using Igor's last week, using Igor's software, and I had a miss on that one, and I actually drew the other photograph, drew a great drawing of the other photograph, which was a flower, but all the other things on the page were for the other one. So I picked the other one, and then it was a miss. And so it's like if you get, going back to his question, if you get too attached to wanting it to be one side, then it's too easy to disregard how much you have for the other side. So in my case, I don't want to get too attached and say, I want to try to be detached enough to get the answer right. Does that make sense?
Yes, and let me add to that, because that's so true with the judging. But what I want to add to that is it's okay to pass. What we're finding is a typical good viewer passes about 30 to 40% of the time, and it's probably to a large extent because of what you said. They are accepting the fact that it is not as clear as they would like a match to one side or the other. So just don't get in your head that you have to give a prediction. Make both of the numbers under 3.5, or like there was a case where the two numbers were close. Like if I see somebody do a 4 and a 3.5, I would recommend that they turn the 4 into a 3.5 or the 3.5 into a 4, because when the confidence rankings are the same, that's a pass. So, you can make it a pass if you've got this kind of uncertainty that you're talking about, as opposed to making a choice on whether or not it's a nag or not a nag. But that's personal preferences. The viewer is in charge. But in situations where you have such a really good picture and yet the words go the other way, you just might want to pass. Though I think you should keep statistics on how often your words are right versus your sketches, which is kind of interesting. If one or the other turns out to be right substantially more, well, you'll change your judging. So learning is going on all the time. Well, period. So, but in all cases, all of us want to forget about the judging. Here we are, we've been spending so much time with judging, and you can't help but spend time with judging. Even if someone does independent judging for you, there's a judge out there that's looking at your transcript and two pictures, and your subconscious knows that as well. And we know the subconscious has access to both photo sites, both possible targets. It has access to that. The training and what you're learning to do is to recognize that the entanglement, the connections, what you describe, what you put on your transcript should only be connected to the feedback target that you see during your feedback session. Nothing else matters. If you went to a parade that day, I can't remember, someone gave an example of something and they thought it was in their session. The cool down is when you get rid of all that other stuff and get into a place where your focus is totally on your feedback session. So that's why I call this precognitive telepathy, because it's telepathy with your future self going this way, and the feedbacker is kind of, you can think of it almost as the sender sending information back to the remote viewer, but it's going both ways. And you do that with your conscious awareness, intention, attention, expectation. And I guess one of the things I want to leave you with is that this will have value to you in your regular life. How could it not? To understand that the universe is as grand as it is, and to understand that your future life experiences are impacting your present moment now, and your present moment now affected what happened to your past, I think urges you to pay more attention to being positive, for example. Pay more attention and enjoy the present moment, because that'll give you more enjoyment in the past. And if you do it now, you just get a lot more enjoyable moments. And they feed on each other. And of course, there are thousands, millions of other ways that all this happens. Once you start realizing that the future can affect the past in your life, and you really get it and see it happen and then purposefully do it like we are, I do think you're a transformed person. You're a different person. And it does and can lead to healthier, wealthier, and wiser life. I'd like to think that ARV all by itself leads to these things, but it's much broader than that. Okay, that's the end of my formal presentation. Any more questions or comments? And yes, have a great day, everybody, and keep precogging. So I will end this now.
Thanks, Marty. Thanks all.
Yeah, thank you all for being here.